welcome to another episode of Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I am Sean Farrell. God is great all the time. All the time, God is great. Jesus Christ died and he rose again. Just going to head and get into it. Okay, so I saw this story. Okay. Hold on, let me get the photo. Okay, yeah. Okay, so saw a story in Basketball Network that says Shaquille O'Neal disagreed his weight was the reason for the Lakers' 2003 failure. The only training I need is players that know their role and give me the effing ball. Okay, that's what Shaq said. So, let me hold on. So I believe the Lakers finished the season, or started the season rather. Like 5-11 or something like that. Okay, hold on. There we go. All right. Yeah, so I'm looking at the Lakers. So I'm looking at the Lakers schedule right here. They opened the season at home against the San Antonio Spurs and lost. And I just thought about this in real time. Okay, don't you find it ironic that at the start of the season they lose to the Spurs, then in Game 6 of the Western Conference semifinals they get blown out by the Spurs at home. So to begin the season with a loss against the Spurs, and then to end the season with a loss to the Spurs. The irony, right? The irony, right? Anyway, so yeah. So they actually started the season 3-9, okay? And at one point they were 5-11, okay? Then at another point they were really struggling. At one point they were 10-18, okay? I remember they lost to Philadelphia 107-104 in overtime, which dropped their record to 10-18. Okay, so they were really struggling. The Lakers are really struggling during the early part of that season. Then they went on a run, okay? Then they went on a run, and actually by the All-Star break, they were 24-23 at the All-Star break. The Lakers were. And went on a run, went on another run, and finished up with a 15-32 record. Okay, yeah. So let me go back to the story. No, not that. There we go. Yeah, that one. Okay. So, the Los Angeles Lakers saw their reign atop the NBA end in 2002-2003. The Lakers had won 3 straight titles after starting the season, losing 11 out of their first 12 games. They never really got going despite finishing strong with a 15-32 record. It was not meant to be, as they were eliminated in the second round by the Spurs. After the season, much of the talk the Lakers was need for Shaquille O'Neal to get in shape. For those of you who may not remember, Shaquille O'Neal had a toe injury that helped him out at the start of the 2002-2003 season, okay? So Kobe Bryant was carrying that team for the majority of the season, okay? If not all the season, even when Shaq came back, okay? Kobe Bryant was carrying that load for the entire season, or the majority of the season, okay? And you remember, he had that run, like 40 plus point game, 9 straight games of 40 plus, challenging Michael Jordan's record in 1987, right? Okay. It did not help that Shaq began the season on the injured list after undergoing surgery on his right foot and toe during the offseason. They not only contributed to the Lakers' poor start, but O'Neal also started slowly and wasn't as dominant as he was during the championship run. Like I said, Kobe Bryant carried the head team for the majority, if not all, of the season. I made a video a while back saying what went wrong with the 2002-2003 Lakers. Was it age, injuries, or whatnot? I think it was a combination of things, okay? Shaq sitting out the start of the season. Kobe Bryant carrying the team for the whole year. Rick Fox got injured during the playoffs. Phil Jackson, head coach Phil Jackson, missed some time on the sidelines because he was undergoing he was undergoing some stuff at that time. I believe like a kidney stone or something like that. Yeah, and so but I think the big thing was that when Rick Fox got injured in the Minnesota series, okay? Yeah, I think that was the big thing that got them right there. Rick Fox being injured in the Minnesota series. And then, as you recall, Devin George got injured in game 1 or either game 2, somewhere. Yeah, Devin George got injured in game 1, hurt his ankle. Okay, so the Lakers were not at full strength as far as coaches. They weren't at full strength as far as players. And like I said, it was a combination of things. Shaq being injured at the start of the season, Kobe Bryant carrying the team the whole season, injuries to Rick Fox and Devin George, Phil Jackson not feeling 100% enough to coach. So yeah, it was a combination of things. But at the end of the 2003 season, like I said, the talk was the need for Shaq to get in shape, okay? And so during a June 2nd meeting, Shaq promised head coach Phil Jackson and GM Mitch Kupchak that he would get himself in better shape during the offseason. O'Neal then asked his agent at the time, Perry Rogers, and his business manager, Mike Paris, with finding the best man for the job. After considering an extensive list of candidates, the duo settled on former Marine Corey Gilday, a certified fitness trainer and nutritionist from Oregon. They contracted Gilday to move to Orlando for the summer to help O'Neal get stronger, leaner, and healthier for next season. However, 4 days after he met with Phil and Mitch, Shaquille pushed back on the narrative that the Lakers were dethroned because he was not in shape. Wasn't he injured at the start of the season? Yeah. That marked the first time in O'Neal's career as a Laker that he had hired a personal trainer. Before that summer, Shaq had always insisted he would not train or work out during the offseason. And that was Kobe Bryant's problem with Shaq. That was Kobe Bryant's main beef with Shaquille O'Neal. Because during the offseason, because it was the only way his body would get rest, and he was mauled the rest of the year. I got beat up all year. I never came into camp in shape because, one, I got to rest and I got to pay my family back. I missed school plays. They didn't want to hear when the season is over that you got to work. You got to go work out. It doesn't matter how you start. It matters how you finish, said O'Neal. Shaq and Corey ended up working out for 3 hours per day during the summer, combining conditioning, running, strength training, and taijutsu. O'Neal dropped 35 pounds and saw his body fat lower by at least 3%. However, the Diesel did not get much of the ball the next season, with the likes of Karl Malone and Gary Payton joining the team. Shaq still led the NBA in free throw attempts at 10.1, but he averaged a then career low 21.5 points per game in 2004. As the Lakers were upset by the Pistons. Okay. Yeah, so. Yeah, that was Kobe Bryant's man. He ain't beef with his Shaq all along. He wasn't in shape. Took him half a season to get in shape. Hold on. What they do talk about another story. It was about Grant Hill. Okay. No. X that out. Okay. So, Grant Hill talked recently that, if I could go back, I would have tried to push myself. Grant Hill says he regrets not trying to redeem his superstar status after injuries. Okay. There weren't a lot of NBA stars who have experienced quite an arc like Grant Hill. Early in his career, Hill already looked destined for greatness. Before turning 30, Hill was a 7-time All-Star, and many believe he will become one of the defining players of his generation. It was like nothing could stop Hill's rise to become the next face of the NBA. Almost. Unfortunately for Hill, a devastating series of ankle injuries robbed him of nearly half of his prime years in the league. What ensued was a long and frustrating battle that tested not only Grant's body, but also his identity as a player. Looking back years later, Hill admitted that the experience prompted him to embrace a completely different mindset. I was at a pretty high level early in my career and was on track to do some really amazing things, but then obviously had the ankle ordeal, which was a comedy of errors in some respects and took away from a good portion of 4 or 5 of my years, Hill reflected in an interview with GQ. And I think as I reflect now, obviously you want to play and you want to compete, and because things change, you're kind of forced to adapt. And some guys aren't able to accept that. I think for me, the blessing and the curse. For a player that spent years believing he could dominate the game on a nightly basis for the rest of his career, the adjustment was difficult. Yet it also changed the way Hill viewed basketball. When Hill finally made it back to the court after years of setbacks, his priorities shifted. Instead of trying to reclaim the status of being one of the league's best players, the former Duke star simply appreciated the opportunity to play again. And this is hold on. Okay, no. Okay. So when you come back from an entire ordeal like that, your mindset, at least for me, was it to come back and have the attitude like I'm the best player in the world, like I had prior to my injury. I just sort of came back happy to be back. Hill opened up, and that's a good thing. Maybe in some respects, it made me really appreciate the game. I was able to enjoy it from a different perspective. Okay. Despite finding gratitude through adversity, Hill eventually realized there was another side to that outlook. He made a candid confession about some thoughts that he had when he was already a shell of his old self as a player. And this is the regret that Grant Hill has. But on the flip side, I think I kind of settled, the Hall of Famer confided. And if I could go back, I would have tried to push myself to not just be happy to be back, but fight harder to get back to that high level, if that makes any sense. Although Hill never pushed himself to regain the explosive version of himself, his second act was far from insignificant. After recovering, Hill reinvented himself as a veteran leader and a reliable two-way player. During his tenure with the Phoenix Suns, Hill became an important piece for the playoff teams built around Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire. He did almost everything on the floor, but it was not Grant that fans adored back in the 90s. Hill went on to play until 2013, though it wasn't how he once envisioned his career to play out. Grant is still at peace with his legacy. Okay? So, when he finally made it back healthy, okay? When he finally made it back healthy, and the irony is, he made it back healthy when Tracy McGrady was traded, okay? He comes back after Tracy McGrady is traded to the Houston Rockets, right? Go figure, right? Anyway, so Grant Hill says he would have tried to push himself harder, okay? But actually, people forget Grant Hill actually had one more pretty good, borderline, great run left in him, okay? But I would say it was more of the line of pretty good, okay? So when he came back finally healthy for the 2005 season, okay? He was an NBA All-Star that year. Yep. Grant Hill was an NBA All-Star for the 2005 season. Grant Hill made his seventh and final appearance in the NBA All-Star game, voted as a starter for the Eastern Conference. He played 17 minutes, recorded 6 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists. Okay. The selection was a major milestone for Hill, making his return to the All-Star game after missing the entire previous season due to severe ankle injuries. Playing for the Orlando Magic, he started in 67 games during the 2004-2005 season. Averaged 19.7 points, 4.7 rebounds, and 3.3 assists per game. That's pretty damn good. Yeah. That's pretty good. Yeah. That's pretty good. Yeah. That is pretty good. You may make it back. You make it all the way back from missing that much time, right? You make it all the way back from missing that much time, and then you average nearly 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 3.5 assists per game. That's pretty good to me. That's pretty good to me. And it seemed like Grant Hill kind of reclaimed his status as one of the best players in the league, okay? Because, again, averaging nearly 20 points, 5 rebounds, 3.5 assists per game, that's pretty good. If not borderline great, okay? Yeah, so, but what could have been, I think there's always going to be a question mark around Grant Hill of what could have been, okay? And, but, like Grant Hill said, he's at peace with his legacy, okay? And if he's at peace with his legacy, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. All right, that's it, and that's all for Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I am out of here. May God bless you all.